Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears here for Scrapbook.com, and today I'm going to be making 2 rainbow cards featuring the Scrapbook.com exclusive Rainbows and Wishes stamp sets. And I say sets because there are actually 2 stamp sets, set 1 and set 2. And both of these stamp sets are build and layer stamp sets, so you can layer the stamps together to create beautiful rainbows. Set 1 has 2 types of rainbows, a circular rainbow and an arched rainbow. And both rainbows have 4 layering stamps with sentiments that you can put inside, on the rainbow, and even on the outside edge of the rainbow. Some of the sentiments with set 1 are hope you have a wonderful day, may your days be filled with sunshine, happy birthday, you are amazing, and many more. And here's a look at the Rainbows and Wishes set 2. You also have 2 style of rainbows. You have a shorter one and then there's a much longer one. Both are arches, and there are some stamp sets that will fit on the arch of the largest rainbow layer. And then you can see that the other set of rainbows, you have some sentiments that actually fit inside. And some of the sentiments included with this stamp set are thank you, here for you, happy birthday, sending good vibes, thinking of you. So these stamp sets can be used for cards for all different occasions, from birthday cards, thank you cards, love cards, miss you cards, and even just simply everyday cards. So for my first card, I'm going to be using the rainbow included in the Rainbow and Wishes set 1. And I'm starting with the first layer, the largest layer stamp, and I stamped it out in the Scrapbook.com Candy Shop pink ink. Next, I lined up the second largest arch, and I inked that up with the Scrapbook.com orange cream ink. And I am inking it a few times just to get a really good impression. I'm using my Sizzix stamp and stencil tool for the platform to do my stamping on, just so that I can ink it up a second or even third time if I needed to in order to get a really good impression. My next layer of the arch is going to be inked with the guacamole ink. So I just lined that up, inked it up, and stamped it down. Now when you're stamping your arches, you can put your layers close together so that there's no white space between, like I'm doing now, or you can make it so that there is white space between, which I'm going to show you on my next card. And here's a quick preview of what I'm talking about when I say white space between the arches. But in order to make it so that there's no white space between, I did have to stretch my stamp a little bit and position it so that you can see the previous color ink from the previous layer through the stamp. And by making sure that your stamps are positioned just like that, overlaying the previous arch, you'll be able to make sure that the arches are stamped back to back without any white space. So this last color I inked with the sky blue ink from Scrapbook.com. I am going to use my scissors to cut this rainbow out. So I decided I want to go ahead and add a sentiment to one of the arches in the rainbow. So I'm going to use the sentiment that says, may your days be filled with sunshine. It will fit perfectly on that pink arch. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here just so that you can see what this looks like. You can see that when you rest the sentiment over top of it, it fits perfectly over that arch. And now I'm just going to ink it up with some black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down. Next, I'm going to use this cloud stamp from the Rainbow and Wishes set 2. I'm going to stamp out the clouds. I just need 2 of them, and then I'm going to use my scissors and fussy cut around them, leaving a little white border around the edge. For the card background, I'm using a piece of the teal cardstock from Scrapbook.com's Sherbet paper pad. I chose this teal color because I want it to represent the sky in the background, and I'm going to use that cloud stamp and just stamp a whole bunch of clouds on this background. I'm using the sky blue ink to stamp out my clouds. This is a fun way of creating your own pattern paper for your cards. I will be layering this piece on a piece of pattern paper from the Sunny Lane paper pad, and I just love all of the designs in this paper pad. They're so much fun. And I'm going to be using this striped piece of paper as the background for my cloud layer. I am going to take a Pink and Main stitched rectangle die to die cut a piece of the cloud layer, and I'm going to use my Spellbinders Black Platinum 6 machine for my die cutting. So now my cloud cardstock has stitching all around. I went ahead and added my rainbow to my cloud paper, and now I'm stamping a sentiment inside the rainbow. So this stamp set does have several sentiments that you can put inside the rainbow, such as to you, sunshine, love, love you, every day, hi, and hey. And I'm using the one that says every day, so my sentiment says, may your days be filled with sunshine every day. Next, I'm going to add the clouds at the bottom of the rainbow. If you wanted just to do white clouds, you can turn your pieces over and just use the white part, but I'm going to use the part that I inked up, and I'm going to put some foam on the back so that they are popped up in front of the rainbow. I'm going to add the cloud layer to the striped pattern paper, and I want to add a little bit of bling to my rainbow, so I'm going to use this mix that I have. It's a 28 Lilac Lane. It's the Pegasus mix, and I'm going to take the stars that are in this mix and just put them along the blue arch on my rainbow. So you can see that this mix also has some round purple as well as teal sequins. I'm just picking the stars out and using the stars all along this blue arch. The last thing I'll do is add this card layer to an A2 size card base, and that's going to complete my first card. For my next card, I'm going to be using the Rainbow and Wishes 2 stamp set, and I'm using the smaller rainbow in this set. This rainbow also has 4 layers, so I'm starting with the largest one, and I'm inking it up with the Pink Lemonade Scrapbook.com ink. Next, I'm going to line up the next stamp, but with this card, I'm going to be leaving some white space between the arches. So rather than putting the stamp over top of the inked arch above it like I did with the last card, I'm just leaving some space between the arches. So this second arch is inked with the orange cream ink, and I'm making sure that I wipe off my stamps after I use them, because I will be coming back in and using these same stamps again and creating 3 rainbows on this card. So the next arch is inked with the sky blue ink, and then the last arch I'm going to ink with the Parisian purple. I'm going to create another rainbow identical to the one that I just did in the top right hand corner of my card using the same exact colors. This rainbow is just going to be slightly higher, a little bit off of the cardstock than the other one. I am using my Sizzix stamp and stencil tools so that I can stamp it more than one time if I need to in order to get a good stamped impression. You can use any stamp positioner to do this, such as a Misty or even a Tim Holtz stamping platform. If you find that you're still not getting a good impression even after stamping it down a few times, it may be because your stamp needs to be primed first, and this happens a lot with brand new stamps. Sometimes with the photopolymer stamps, there's a coating left on the stamp from the manufacturing process, and you just need to remove the coating before stamping. In order to do that, you can just rub your finger onto the surface of the stamp, or you can use Versamark ink, which will help prime the surface of the stamp as well. So I went ahead and finished up my last rainbow, and now I just lined up the sentiment that says happy, happy, happy. It actually has 6 happies on there, and I just lined it up with that pink arch, and I stamped it right on top of the arch. And I'm going to do that for each one of the rainbows. I love how these sentiment stamps fit perfectly within the arch of the rainbow. So I went ahead and finished stamping the sentiments, and now I'm just going to stamp out a heart. This heart's from the same stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in the middle of the rainbow. Next, I die cut a cloud die. This is from the Sunny Studio Nature border dies. It's slimline in size, but it can be cut down to fit an A2 size card. I'm just using some of the sky blue ink and adding some ink along the edges in order to add some depth to the card. I didn't want the white cloud on the white background. I wanted to be able to distinguish it a little bit off of that white background, so adding some ink really helped do the job. After adding some ink along the edge, I do take my ink blending tool and I just pounce some of the ink on top of that cloud die cut just to add a little bit more color to the top. Next, I'm just going to add some of that same ink along the edge of my card. And then I'm going to put glue on the back of the cloud and add it along the bottom of my card layer. And since my cloud die is a bit longer than that card layer, I will snip off the excess. And since I have a cloud at the bottom of the card, I want to have some more clouds for the rainbows at the top of the card. So I'm using the cloud stamp, and I'm going to stamp 5 clouds. I'm using the sky blue ink, and I'm getting a second generation stamp. So I stamped it the first time and stamped it off onto the cardstock to get the darker ink off of the stamp, and then stamping it again to get a lighter blue ink on the second generation stamp. I messed up on one of them, but that's okay. I did stamp it out 5 times the way that I want it with the lighter ink, and I'm just going to use my scissors and cut these clouds out. I'll go ahead and add those clouds to the bottom of the rainbows, and I will be adding 2 clouds for some of them and then 1 for the one that's kind of cut off the side of the card. I will be adding one of the clouds flush to the cardstock, and then the one that's laying on top will have some foam adhesive so that it's popped up. There's one cloud going over the edge, so I'll just flip this layer over and snip it off. I'm going to add another sentiment. This one says birthday, and I'm using the Scrapbook.com birthday celebration 2 dies. These dies come with the words as well as the shadow layer, and I'm just going to use the word birthday without the shadow for my card. So I die cut it with a piece of the pink cardstock from the floral paper pad, and I'm going to add it to my card right on top of the cloud. So now the sentiment for the card says, happy, 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 happy birthday. I think I got enough happies in there. So here I'm just going to grab the dot for the eye because it did get stuck in the die, and I'll add it to the sentiment. Off screen, I did put this layer on an A2 size white card base, and the last thing I'm doing is just adding a little bit of the silver pops of color to the bottom of the clouds. Just adding a little bit of the pops of color and then using my finger to spread that in. And that just adds for a little bit of glitter onto those clouds. The pops of color is a liquid embellishment, so if you do use the pops of color, make sure it's the last thing you add to your card because it will be wet and it will need time to dry. Now, although I am applying a very light, thin layer of the pops of color, it's not going to take very long to dry at all. So once again, if you're interested in any of the products that I use, please check the description box of this YouTube video for product links. I hope you liked both of my cards today, and if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.